Part 42. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 411. With the development of human civilization on this digitized planet. After these humans developed from primitive civilization to medieval civilization, during this long period of change, they gradually mastered and used these data and the method of turning items into cards. At the same time, various civilizations and cultures were derived. Chen Mu discovered that it was because of the data. These people also start to use data to judge the quality of things and whether people are excellent. For example, the blacksmith profession was born out of human civilization. These blacksmith professions can create equipment, including weapons and armor. Because of the data, these blacksmiths will madly pursue high attack power values of the weapons they create, and they will also pursue high defense power values of the armor. The higher the value a blacksmith can create, the more he will be admired and admired by others. However, the emergence of these attack power and defense power values stimulated the emergence of weapons and armor, and further stimulated violence in the human body. After all, if you have a sword with high attack power, you will naturally want to fight with others. Because of the emergence of more powerful weapons and armors, the desire to fight between people has become stronger. Fighting between countries also became frequent. After Chen Mu saw this, he suddenly became interested. Interesting, but since we are pursuing powerful weapons and armor, isn't it just a battle between humans and humans a bit too boring? After thinking of this, Chen Mu found an area that humans had not yet explored, and then created some new life in that area. Because humans are still in the Middle Ages, and humans in the Middle Ages do not have very strong exploration capabilities, so the current human exploration footprint on this planet has not covered 10% of the entire planet's land. Most are still in their original appearance. It is too easy to find a place that humans have not explored. The location Chen Mu found was still a long way from the nearest human location. He created some unique beastly life forms within that area. These beings have a stronger body density than beasts, which also results in these beings having stronger health points, attack power, and defense values. Among these beasts, the most powerful one is the giant dragon with flesh wings that looks like a lizard. Based on the speed of human exploration and the reproduction and expansion speed of these beast life forms, they will meet in another 50 years. With the addition of these more powerful beast life forms, I believe that the martial ethics of these humans can be boiled get further catharsis. Thinking of this, Chen Mu couldn't wait to see the battle between humans and these beasts. Chen Mu pulled the timeline and moved the time to 70 years later by accelerating the progress of time. After 70 years. Just as Chen Mu calculated, the territory of humans and the territory of these beasts are already bordering. However, to Chen Mu's surprise, humans did not choose to confront these beasts head-on. Instead, they chose to build a 30-meter high Great Wall near the beasts' territory. The huge Great Wall spans thousands of miles and separates human and beast life. It's not the same as imagined, Chen Mu thought for a moment, and then he pulled back time again to see what happened after humans came into contact with these powerful beasts. By pulling back time, Chen Mu saw everything that happened 20 years after the contact between humans and these powerful beasts. 20 years ago, humans came into contact with those powerful beasts. Those beasts suddenly discovered that there was another kind of food called humans in this world, and it was so delicious. More importantly, those humans were still so weak. That's right, humans are indeed pitifully weak compared to other low-level and yet extremely powerful beast life forms that the beast life forms have been hunting. From that time on, large numbers of beast life forms began to invade human territory. Massive invasion. Crazy killing. Treat humans as food. At that time, all the countries that were still at war immediately agreed to a truce after discovering the existence of this powerful beast life form, and at the same time began to crusade against these beasts that invaded their own land. But after the war, these humans discovered that these beasts were too powerful and incomparable to other beasts. Those humans named these beasts ferocious beasts. At the beginning, mankind was almost crushed. In the 3-Year War, the territory of mankind shrank greatly, and tens of millions of people died. Later, human blacksmiths accidentally discovered that using the bones of ferocious beasts to make weapons and defenses could greatly increase the attack and defense values of weapons and armors. Then, kings of various countries began to use this beastly weapon on their soldiers' weapons. From that time on, humans had the capital to compete with ferocious beasts. With regular troops and ferocious beast equipment, humans slowly resisted the ferocious beasts' invasion and began to push the ferocious beasts away. After spending a lot of time and losing countless lives, he drove the ferocious beast back to the ferocious beast forest. Although humans can drive the ferocious beasts away through various tactics, they still have no way to deal with some more powerful creatures, such as terrifying creatures like giant dragons. These humans can only choose to retreat when facing beasts they cannot defeat, and choose to push when those terrifying beasts leave. In this way, they slowly pushed forward, and most of the beasts were driven back to the beast forest. After that, humans began to develop a large number of manpower to build this great wall. After blocking the beasts with this great wall. Seeing this, Shenmue understood what was going on. Can't beat them. Although human violence has become stronger due to the emergence of numerical values, when facing those more powerful and ferocious beasts, humans can't defeat them at all. No matter how abundant martial virtue is, there is no way. This is why they did not kill into the beast forest, but chose to build this great wall. After experiencing the invasion of beasts, human martial virtue seems to have become a little low. The friction between countries is much less than before, and they began to develop slowly and enter a period of peace. Peaceful times are so boring. Shenmue plans to give them some more stimulation. But the question is, how to give them some stimulation? Shenmue thought about it. Cards. Shenmue said, if I make another setting, and set these beasts so that if they are killed, they can be used as cards for people to use, wouldn't it be more interesting? Thinking of this, he did it as he said. This setting is very simple. You only need to add the setting to the celestial device, and the celestial device will execute it. Killing a cheetah can turn the cheetah into a card. By retransforming the card, you can get a loyal cheetah. If you kill a dragon, you can definitely turn the dragon into a card, and retransform it to get a dragon as a servant. I don't believe that humans will not be interested in this temptation. Shenmue was interested, and he wanted to see what human reactions would be next. Warm Ti. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 412. Through the time dimension, Shenmue saw the subsequent development of this civilization. Because Shenmue added a new setting to the celestial device, the ferocious beasts would become cards for people to use after being killed. And this led to the human civilization realizing that they could improve their combat effectiveness by obtaining cards by killing ferocious beasts. Slowly, the Great Wall, which took decades and was built with no manpower, opened its gates. Those human countries began to form coalition forces and entered the territory of the ferocious beasts through the Great Wall gates to hunt. Countless ferocious beasts turned into countless cards, and then became the largest ferocious beast weapons of these human countries. Humans used the obtained ferocious beasts to match warriors and tactics to slaughter the ferocious beasts and obtain more powerful ferocious beasts as their own weapons. In this way, the human side became stronger and stronger. And the number of ferocious beasts began to decrease drastically. After a full 200 years, Shenmue discovered the ferocious beasts were gone. Shenmue looked at the pictures in the timeline through the timeline. Indeed, the ferocious beasts were gone. To be precise, those beasts did not disappear, but they became cards, became pets of humans, and lived in the human world. As for the beasts in the wild, there was no one left, and they all disappeared. Including those dragons. Although it was not easy for humans to kill dragons, they used the beast-sea tactics to grind the dragons to death by using the beasts they obtained. In this way, wild beasts became history. Seeing this, Chen Mu was immediately happy. You are worthy of it? Before, the beasts were too powerful and humans could not deal with them, so humans built the Great Wall. When they knew that the beasts could be turned into cards for their own use, they realized that they could make themselves or their countries stronger by killing the beasts, so they began to slaughter. Although humans also paid a lot of price in this process, and tens of millions of people died, under the temptation of obtaining powerful beast weapons, humans still relied on their strong perseverance to grind all the beasts to extinction. After the beasts were extinct, humans continued to develop. This time, Chen Mu found that the wars between these countries were becoming more and more frequent. On the battlefield, beasts roared and soldiers roared in anger. But in this kind of war between countries, beasts participated in the war in the minority, and more soldiers participated in the war. This made Chen Mu a little confused. Now this civilization is still in the medieval civilization, there are no hot weapons, all cold weapons are steel. When people fight with cold weapons, the battle is very tragic. And these humans have killed so many beasts and obtained so many beast cards, why don't they use them on the battlefield? Why do they have to use the soldiers' bodies to participate in the war? Chen Mu was puzzled and began to browse the thoughts of those people by browsing the dark consciousness. After seeing the thoughts of those people, Chen Mu frowned. So that's it? By browsing the dark consciousness of the people of this civilization, Chen Mu found a situation that destroyed the balance. Because when Chen Mu made the settings before, he did not set the setting of how many beast cards a person could have. This led to the situation that a person could have countless beasts. The more beast cards a person has, the more powerful he is. At the same time, since the beasts transformed by cards cannot be transformed back into cards if they are killed again. So the beast cards are very precious. The reason why wars between countries in this civilization become frequent is that these kings have realized a problem. That is, the more beast cards you get, the stronger you will be. If you collect all the powerful beast cards, you can easily unify this continent. Since the number of cards a person can have is unlimited, the king of each country will gather all the cards in the hands of everyone in the country in his own hands. They will only be used when needed. In more wars, people still use sustainable human lives to fill the gap and fight for themselves. The beast cards are used sparingly. Therefore, although there are tens of millions of beasts slaughtered by humans, even these beast cards can continue to give birth to other beast cubs through reproduction after they are transformed into beasts. However, these cards are all gathered in the hands of some high-level officials in a country. As for ordinary people or ordinary soldiers, they do not have these beast cards. The reason for this situation is that the number of cards a person has is not limited, and the cards of people who get the beast card are not protected. We have to solve this problem. Chen Mu continued to modify the settings through the celestial device. This problem is not that difficult to solve. Because the entire planet, from a planet to a small quark, is calculated and controlled by the celestial device. So basically, Chen Mu can do whatever he wants. Chen Mu changed the settings. Each person can only use 3 cards, and at the same time can set one as the natal card, which cannot be abandoned or transferred. That should be about it. When this setting was enabled, Chen Mu observed the changes of the planet through the time dimension. Just as Chen Mu expected. With this setting, the frequent wars between countries began to decrease with the passage of time. The situation where cards were originally highly concentrated in the upper class of humans is no longer as concentrated as before. This seems to be quite fun. Chen Mu was very satisfied with the idea of turning fierce beasts into cards. But now the fierce beasts have become extinct. Without them, these humans seem to have nothing to pursue. Let's create something else. With Chen Mu's thoughts, he stayed. In the center of the continent, a tower appeared out of thin air. This tower is circular, covering an area of 50 square kilometers and a height of more than 10,000 meters. It is divided into 100 floors. Each floor has a different environment. Entering the first floor, people will appear on a small island. Looking forward from this small island, there is an endless ocean, and you can also see a sun in the sky. In the ocean, there are countless fish beasts. In addition to fierce beasts, there are also special creatures that are a fusion of humans and fish, mermaids. These fish beasts and mermaids can be turned into cards. The second floor is a group of beast-like fierce beasts and a group of beast-like beasts formed by the fusion of human and beast genes. It can also be turned into cards. There are more different races above. These special lives are all new life forms created by Shenmue by fusing some life genes with the lives he encountered in the universe. Shenmue wants to see what these humans will do when they find this tower. Will they continue to kill in order to obtain cards and become stronger? Can they win? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen-Wu Nian. Chapter 413. Human civilization soon discovered the tower. The country closest to the tower reacted first and sent an exploration team to enter the tower to explore. After that, some countries sent people over. As time goes by, the existence of this tower is known to all human countries. Shenmue pushed back through the timeline, and another 60 years passed. Shenmue discovered that 60 years later, humans did not slaughter the lives in the tower like ferocious beasts. They and the marine life on the first floor actually got along fine. There was no war or massacre. This is very strange. Since when have humans become so peaceful? There are beasts that can enhance their strength, but they don't plan to attack, kill, or acquire them. Shenmue was puzzled, so he turned back the time again through the timeline to see what was going on. By calling back the timeline, Shenmue finally knew what was going on. Within 10 years of the discovery of that tower, human beings discovered that there are also ferocious beasts in the tower, and they are also ocean ferocious beasts. Just like the ferocious beasts outside, you can get ferocious beast cards by killing them and make the ferocious beasts your own weapons. More importantly, these marine beasts can also help humans fish and obtain enhanced fisheries. Therefore, those countries sent many warriors into the tower to capture the ferocious beasts. At the beginning, these countries used various means to slaughter countless ocean beasts and obtain countless beast cards. But to the back, a kind of highly intelligent life form, half human and half fish, began to unite in a tower on the first floor. Through wisdom, learn to understand human tactics. 10 years later, mermaids began to attack humans crazily. Since humans and the powerful ferocious beasts owned by humans cannot enter the ocean, they have always been in a passive state. In addition, these mermaids themselves have the high-density muscles and bones of ferocious beasts, and humans are no match at all. Gradually, humans were driven out of the tower by these mermaids. After 60 years, the mermaids in the first floor tower have formed their own civilization system. As long as humans step into the first floor tower, they will be killed directly. See this. Shenmue understood. Shenmue originally planned to treat the mermaids in the first floor tower as special beings, allowing humans to obtain the existence of cards. But Shenmue never thought that because mermaids possess human genes, they are also highly intelligent beings and they can learn. These mermaids established a mermaid civilization in this tower. The battle between alien humans and mermaids is tantamount to a confrontation between one civilization and another. Mermaids are civilized, physically strong as ferocious beasts, and have a unique ocean geography. It is simply impossible for humans to defeat them. This is why 60 years later, humans no longer enter the tower to plunder. After seeing this, Chen Mu crossed his arms over his chest. It's just like when humans encountered those ferocious beasts before. They couldn't defeat them, so they chose peace. This time, they couldn't defeat these fishmen, so they chose peace. Chen Shi thought for a moment. Indeed, even though humans currently have the help of ferocious beasts, humans themselves are still flesh and blood. Facing those humans who occupy geographical advantages, there is indeed no advantage. Humanity must be improved. Otherwise, there will be no point in building this tower. Chen Mu thought for a moment. So, Chen Mu gave the celestial device a new setting. Level setting. Gives all life levels settings. The initial level of any life is 1. Life can increase its physical strength by upgrading the level, and provide defense and attack power by increasing the strength. After killing the ferocious beasts in the wild, you can get 2 options. One is to the wild beasts can be transformed into cards, and the other is to experience them. You can improve your level and enhance your strength by choosing experience. At the same time, several areas are designated on the continent, and ferocious beasts of various levels will be spawned in these areas at random locations at regular intervals. After Chen Mu finished setting up, he said, in this way, human beings can also gain the ability to improve their own strength. Their own strength can be improved, and then after it reaches a certain level, I believe they will choose to enter the tower and challenge again. Those mermaids are civilized. It seems that no human has ever stepped into the second floor. Is the entrance to the second floor too far away? The entrance to the second floor needs to be moved to a conspicuous place. The first level environment has 2 islands. After entering the first level from the human world, you will be on one of the islands. If you find another island, you can find the entrance to the second level on that island. However, the 2 islands are too far apart. Humanity has been wreaking havoc on the first level for 10 years, but has not yet discovered the existence of the second island. This made Chen Mu a little disappointed. For this reason, Chen Mu placed the second island opposite the first island, leaving a long walkway in the middle. This way, it will be conspicuous enough. Chen Mu muttered. Okay, let's continue and see what these humans will do next. Chen Mu pulled up the timeline. As time goes by, Chen Mu saw human development. Sure enough, after Chen Mu added the level setting, after humans unexpectedly discovered that they could gain defense and attack power through upgrading, all human civilization entered the era of upgrading for all mankind. They began to go to the wild and slaughter the newly appeared beasts to upgrade. After 50 years of long upgrade time, gradually, humans began to enter the tower again and stepped into the world of mermaid civilization. Mermaid civilization and human civilization, once again went to war. This time, the mermaid civilization was at a disadvantage in the face of the upgraded and extremely powerful humans. And the human civilization also found the door to the second floor of the tower. Gradually, some humans passed through the door and came to the second floor of the tower. The second floor of the tower was full of various beasts, as well as some life forms that were a fusion of humans and beasts. This is an orc civilization. After seeing this, Chen Mu directly flipped the timeline and jumped 100 years. 100 years later, Chen Mu rewatched the civilization. When Chen Mu saw the human civilization again, he was stunned. Because Chen Mu found that there were some half-human and half-beast beings in the human civilization. It was an orc. And it was not an orc transformed from a card, it was a real orc. But this is not right. This made Chen Mu a little confused. When Chen Mu created the tower, he imposed restrictions. The mermaid civilization could not leave the tower or enter the second floor tower. As an orc on the second floor tower, he also had no way to leave the tower. Why did this orc run to the human civilization now? In order to get the answer, Chen Mu flipped through the hidden information of the civilization. At a glance, Chen Mu couldn't help but touch his nose. It's really interesting. In the past, When humans reached the second floor, they encountered various beast-type beasts and orcs. Humans obtained the cards of beasts and orcs through slaughter. There are many types of orcs. Some have beast heads and human bodies, some have beast lower bodies and human upper bodies, some have beast upper bodies and human lower bodies. There are also some that are human in the whole body, but have beast ears and tails. Some of the orcs look very much like humans. There are handsome male orcs and beautiful female orcs. Humans brought these orc cards back to human civilization. After the carded orcs returned to human civilization, they would be reshaped. As a result, some humans fell in love with some orcs and had relationships with them. Eventually, new life was slowly born. This is why new orcs appeared in human civilization. As expected of humans, they really know how to have fun. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 414. Humans gained experience points by killing fierce beasts, and several beings with high-level values appeared. The mermaid civilization had no way to deal with these beings. The mermaid civilization chose to stay away from the two small islands and hide deep in the sea. Although human civilization is powerful, those high-level humans can't do anything to them in the sea. At this moment, many human civilizations have reached the second level. The second level is inhabited by wild beasts, and there are also orc civilizations. However, the current orc civilization is too far behind the development of human civilization. When human civilization enters the orc civilization, it is simply a dimensionality reduction attack. Most of the current orc civilization has been enslaved by humans, and only a small part is fleeing and resisting. The orc civilization has become a subsidiary of human civilization. Although not all the orcs on the second level were killed and turned into cards, most of them became slaves of humans and were used by humans. Although it was expected, it still made Shenmue somewhat dissatisfied. In this case, it would be too boring. Let's do this. Shenmue set it up again. The celestial device randomly selects an orc in the orc civilization and raises its level to the highest level in the entire world. When the orc with the highest level dies, the celestial device will reselect another orc and give him the same level. In this way, the orc civilization will also gain real power and carry out real resistance, right? Because there will always be powerful orcs, and they can't be killed. Humans will also give up the crusade against orcs. Shenmue continued to observe. He pulled the timeline and continued to move forward 100 years. 100 years later. When Shenmue saw the second floor tower again, everything he saw made Shenmue stunned. This is. The orc civilization in the second floor tower completely disappeared, and only some fierce beasts were left at this moment. And the orc civilization is gone. This result is really unexpected. Shenmue muttered. He turned back to the timeline to see what happened. After returning to the previous timeline and observing what happened, Shenmue was a little speechless. When the highest level orc appeared in the orc civilization, the orc realized that he was special and seemed to have a sense of mission. He led other orcs to start resistance. Because the resistance was too intense, human civilization began to suppress. Therefore, the war broke out. During the war, humans discovered the existence of high-level orcs. At this time, on the human side, the 7 strongest people with the highest level united to deal with the high-level orc and killed him at the same time. When the high-level orc died, humans began to win. But another high-level orc appeared. However, the 7 high-level humans still chose to continue to suppress. As time went by, on the human side, it was found that there would always be a high-level orc among the orcs. Not only were they not afraid, but they seemed to have found a place to level up. Countless high-level humans began to pour into the second-level tower. Because the orcs believed that there was a higher-level existence that would lead the orc civilization to no longer be enslaved. So the orcs' resistance was very intense. And humans originally intended to enslave the orcs, but they did not expect the orcs to resist so violently. Humans were angry. They used various beast cards to participate in the war. In a crushing manner, all the orcs were killed and turned into experience. And every time a high-level orc appeared, it would be besieged by other high-level humans among humans and had no way to resist. The war lasted for nearly 100 years. The orc civilization disappeared completely, and those orcs became cards and were preserved by humans. Shenmue wanted to use this method to make the orcs stronger and get rid of human slavery, but he didn't expect to directly accelerate the demise of the orcs. Before, the high-level orcs he created not only did not make humans feel threatened, but also made humans feel that it was an experience baby. Unexpected. Shenmue thought about it. It seems that the settings need to be changed. The reason for this situation is that Shenmue did not set a level limit before, and made the level upgrade too simple, so this situation occurred. It is necessary to make the upgrade more difficult and set a level limit at the same time. Let's do this. Shenmue reset all human levels to 0 through the celestial device. Then, the level is limited to 100, and every 10 levels, you need to kill a beast of the same level by yourself to obtain a beast card. Using the beast card for sacrifice, is actually to let the celestial device take back the card. Wouldn't it be too simple? It is probably too simple. In this way, it is just a matter of time. Humans can continue to accumulate experience, and then continue to upgrade, killing a beast every 10 levels. It is too simple, as long as there is enough time. No. It can't be that simple. It has to be harder, Shenmue was thinking. If the beast is too weak, then create a stronger existence. It is so strong that humans at level 80 can't beat it anyway. Shenmue thought. A valley appeared on the continent. Shenmue created 4 powerful beasts in this valley. The level of the 4 beasts is 100. The next task for humans at level 80 is to kill one of the 4 beasts and get a card to upgrade. Then, Shenmue created a new orc civilization in the second tower and gave the orc king a level of 90. In this way, I wonder how you can continue to use the orc king as an experience baby. That's it? Shenmue's eyes fell on human civilization, wanting to see what human civilization would do this time. When looking at human civilization by pulling the timeline, unexpected situations occurred. Shenmue saw that human civilization had lost its previous peace and stability, and various wars began to appear. Wars between forces, wars within countries, and wars between countries. Wars became very frequent. There were deaths everywhere, and scenes of war everywhere. Shenmue was a little confused. He read the dark consciousness of this planet to see what was going on. After a glance, Shenmue knew what was going on. The reason why human civilization seemed peaceful and stable before was because there were powerful forces in human civilization that suppressed the weak, eventually forming unity, and then becoming peaceful and stable. And the powerful forces are composed of countless high-level beings. If there is suppression, there will be resistance, but it is just that they are weak, so they cannot resist. But when Shenmue reset the levels of all humans to 0, everyone's strength became average. Naturally, war and chaos are inevitable. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 415. An old man covered in blood, he staggered and pressed the wall with his skinny hands, he supported his body and slowly climbed up. His white robe was stained red with blood. His eyes were fixed on the front. This was his family's yard, and the yard was full of corpses. Among these corpses, there were his wife, his son, and his grandchildren. At this moment, all these children were dead, none of them survived. They were killed by another family, and before yesterday, the old man did not take them seriously at all. Everyone in that family had to kneel when they saw him. But now, the people of that family slaughtered his entire family. Why? The old man's pupils trembled. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? The old man roared. He looked at the data in front of him, which showed his own level. His level is now level 10. He couldn't figure it out. Yesterday, he had the highest level of humans, level 139. He spent his whole life, worked hard, accumulated experience crazily, upgraded his level, and gained powerful strength. He did it, he became the strongest existence in this country, and was called the god of war by the king. He enjoyed countless wealth and glory in the world, married beautiful women, and had children. He was the most powerful existence in this country. Even in the whole human race, he was the strongest existence. Everyone had to be respectful when they saw him. He paid unimaginable hardship for ordinary people, just to gain experience and level. In his opinion, people should work hard. If the level is too low, it means that the person is a rubbish. Just a waste. Because of this idea, he looked down on any existence with a lower level than him in human civilization. But yesterday, the level he was proud of was gone, only 0 was left. A day later, those who were regarded as jumping clowns by him before joined other forces to attack his mansion. Overnight, they all died. All his family members died. All relatives, at this moment, all turned into corpses. He couldn't figure it out. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? I spent my whole life, spent so much sweat, accumulated experience bit by bit, and gained levels bit by bit. After going through so much hardship, I finally got such a high level, got the title of military god, and got the respect of others. Why? Why did it all go away overnight? Everyone's level was reset to 0. Why? My efforts are so meaningless, so meaningless. Heaven is unfair, he roared and shouted at the sky. With a roar, he picked up the bloody sword in his hand and stabbed it directly into his body. He fell down in response. Bang. He fell to the ground, his eyes looking at the bodies of his relatives lying on the floor. In the end, he still failed to protect them. He slowly closed his eyes. The emergence of levels divided human beings into different levels. The higher the level, the more respected they are, and the lower the level, the more despised they are. Those with high levels became free to do whatever they wanted. Those with low levels seemed to be slaves of those with high levels. As a result, people with low levels had various emotions. Emotions turned into hatred. But these hatreds could only be suppressed under the gap in level strength. But when all the levels were reset to 0, then they could not be suppressed. In this data civilization, for a long time after the levels were reset to 0, various wars and deaths occurred. Many people died at the hands of their enemies, and some died of unacceptable suicide. Of course, Shenmue was not interested in all this. This tower has 100 floors. At present, humans have only explored the first 2 floors. This is not good. They seem to have not found the entrance to the 3rd floor, and naturally they can't reach the 4th floor. Shenmue thought for a while. Make a simpler one so that they can explore the tower quickly enough. Shenmue's thoughts moved. Near the tower, one space-time gate after another appeared. These space-time gates surrounded the tower, and these gates corresponded to each floor. There are 100 highly intelligent species in the 100 floors. In order to avoid the situation of the Orc civilization from happening again, Shenmue randomly selected one of these highly intelligent species and gave it the ability of level 100. Shenmue waved his hand and pulled the timeline. Jump back 100 years. 100 years later. The world tended to be peaceful. Originally, human civilization had countless countries, but now there are only 3 of them. At the same time, wars have become less frequent. The tower is located in the middle of the 3 countries, at the junction of the 3 countries. The tower has no intersection with human civilization. Humans develop in their own countries, and the civilization in the tower also develops in the tower. Seeing this, Chenmu doesn't need to turn the timeline, he knows what's going on. 100 years have passed. There are currently only more than a dozen level 80 human civilizations, and only one has reached level 90. In other words, no human civilization can fight against other civilizations in the tower. After all, every civilization in the tower has a full-level existence. Faced with this situation, it is a very normal choice for humans to choose not to invade. Just like in the past, if you can't beat it, choose to avoid it. That is to say, only one human has defeated the valley beasts so far. It's a bit too slow. 100 years have passed, and only one has defeated it and upgraded it. But looking back, it's good. Humans progress slowly, but they are all progressing anyway. Every human has something to pursue and has its own meaning. This civilization is a relatively interesting civilization. It's not good not to experience such an interesting civilization. Then experience it. Chenmu thought about it and separated part of his dark consciousness. That dark consciousness is Chenmu's clone, and this clone does not have any memory of Chenmu. The reason why this clone is not allowed to have the original memory is that if this clone has Chenmu's original memory, then the experience will lose its meaning. Because that clone cannot feel the fun and interesting places of living in this data civilization. But without memory, there is no emotion, and experiencing life without emotion is meaningless. After thinking about this, Chenmu pinched out a baby's body. The dark consciousness entered the baby's body. Because there was only dark consciousness without any memory, knowing nothing and understanding nothing, so the dark consciousness was no different from the baby. The baby was lying in the snow, probably feeling uneasy and painful. He burst into tears. Woo woo woo. Suddenly, the door next to him opened. A middle-aged man and woman came out of the door. They saw the baby lying in front of the door, crying. They looked at each other. Then, the woman walked over, picked up the baby, and whispered, "Don't cry, don't cry." Then, she looked around. No one else was seen. She held the child and followed the middle-aged man next to her back to the house. Chenmu saw this and said, "Then, in this way, I will join this data civilization." Game start. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 416. The middle-aged man and woman were a couple. They did not name the baby at first, but searched nearby. They wanted to know who abandoned the baby. Later, after searching for 3 months, they still did not find it. The couple, who were childless in middle age, had never wanted to have a child, but they did not have one. Finally, they thought that this might be a child given to them by God. They named the baby TNC. TNC's adoptive parents were an ordinary couple. They raised TNC and taught him all kinds of truths. The country where TNC lived was called Ayakuo. There was an academy in Ayakuo, and the purpose of the academy was to teach others how to improve and use their own levels and data, and of course other knowledge. TNC's adoptive parents sent TNC to the academy. Let TNC grow and learn. TNC gradually integrated into this world and became an ordinary person. Although he would think about this and that every night, in the end, he was still like an ordinary person. Learn and grow. Chenmu saw the changes in TNC. What an uneventful life. If Chenmu ignored him and let him go with the flow, even if he was part of Chenmu's subconscious, he would be like other ordinary people, doing nothing and then dying. That would be too boring. Chenmu wanted to experience the life of this data civilization, not to experience this uneventful and lifeless life. The question is, how to make him change? What does he want now? Chen Mu opened Tianxi's dark message and read it. Chen Mu knew what Tianxi wanted. In this data civilization, there are levels and biological cards. But as an ordinary person, you are not qualified to see the beasts. The National Army of Ayakuo has surrounded all the places where there are beasts with walls, set up gates, and let soldiers guard them. Only some high-level people in society can enter. And the role of ordinary people in that Ayakuo is to make money, support their families, and provide population for Ayakuo. Now most ordinary people are busy running for 3 meals a day. For ordinary people, gaining experience and collecting powerful beast cards are just dreams. People who have powerful beast cards are called beast masters. Beast masters have a high status in Ayakuo and are respected. People with high levels are called high-level warriors. Warriors have a high status in Ayakuo. These are what most ordinary people desire, and what Tianxi desires. Of course, as a man with blood, Tianxi has other desires. That is the beautiful opposite sex. It is very simple to realize Tianxi's desire. Chen Mu can find a full-level beauty in this data civilization and turn her into Tianxi's natal card. This will satisfy Tianxi's desire. But the problem is that even if it is realized, it seems meaningless. By then, he has a wife and is invincible in the data civilization, so his life will have no pursuit. Without pursuit, he will not be able to experience the so-called life. Chen Mu thought about it for a while and came up with a solution. There are 100 civilizations in that tower, and the civilization with the most beautiful women is the forest elf civilization. This civilization is a special civilization that Chen Mu studied when he was free and used the genes of plants and humans to do experiments. Forest elves are life forms born from plants and have only one gender. Their appearance is absolutely beautiful in the eyes of normal people. Chen Mu gave the queen of the forest elves to Tianxi in the form of a card. At the same time, Chen Mu simplified the experience that Tianxi needed to gain, allowing him to upgrade at half the speed of ordinary people, and then lifted his level restrictions. Then, Chen Mu lifted all the restrictions on the fields of these 100 civilizations. Before, only human civilization could enter these civilizations, but now all civilizations can travel freely. In the absence of restrictions, wars between humans and these civilizations will be inevitable. As a member of the human race, Tianxi has obtained a full-level forest elf card. What will he do? In this case, none of the 101 civilizations in the entire data civilization can be immune. No one can be idle. Either die or become stronger. This is interesting. Chen Mu pulled the timeline and pushed forward 10 years. 10 years later. Just as Chen Mu expected, some civilizations in the tower found that they could come to human civilization through the gate of time and space. At this moment, some civilizations have invaded human civilization. The war has begun. What about Tianxi? Chen Mu searched for Tianxi's existence in the dark information of data civilization. However, the result was dead. Chen Mu frowned and suddenly had doubts in his heart. The dark information database of data civilization records everything in the entire civilization, from small to large, everything that happened. Through this dark information database, Chen Mu found that Tianxi was dead. This made Chen Mu curious. Tianxi has a full-level forest elf queen as a servant, following him, how could he die? Chen Mu continued to read the dark consciousness and the information recorded in the dark consciousness. Chen Mu finally knew what was going on. After Tianxi got the forest elf queen became his servant. As a man full of vigor and vitality, seeing such beauty, and the existence that would unconditionally obey his orders. Naturally, something happened. Then, the forest elf queen became pregnant. Later, after a period of time, when the forest elf queen was giving birth, Tianxi was attacked by some people who were eyeing the forest elf queen's beauty and was directly killed. The forest elf queen was Tianxi's natal card, so she died with him. Seeing this, Chen Mu was silent. He thought that after TNC got the full level card, he would take it to slaughter the beast and gain the level. But he didn't expect that TNC would satisfy his physiological needs first, which eventually led to his own death. Chen Mu's original purpose was to let a part of his subconscious experience it, and he would do so in this interesting place of data civilization. But he didn't expect that he would kill that part of his subconscious. What's the problem? Chen Mu thought about it. The problem lies in the fact that the forest elf queen becomes TNC's servant. Because she is a servant who is 100% loyal to TNC, she must obey TNC's orders. As a man, that kind of thing is natural. Chen Mu adjusts the timeline back to 10 years later. He changes the settings again. Let the forest elf queen become a card, and at the same time have her own thinking ability, so she does not need to obey TNC's orders completely. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 417. After Chen Mu changed the setting, he rewound the timeline to 10 years later. 10 years later. Chen Mu re-examined the data civilization in front of him. Seeing the data civilization in front of him, something unexpected happened to Chen Mu. Where is the war? In the previous timeline, the entire data planet was full of wars. Wars continued. Most of the 101 civilizations were fighting between civilizations. But now Chen Mu found that the war was gone. These 101 civilizations were quiet and peaceful at the moment. The only change Chen Mu made in the two timelines was to change the restrictions on the forest elf queen who became TNC's natal card, so that the queen had her own thinking. Just this change, but the global world war disappeared? Why? What is TNC doing now? Chen Mu opened the planet's dark consciousness and searched. After a little search, Chen Mu found TNC. TNC is not a human civilization, but in the forest elves on the 77th floor. He lived with the forest elf queen and had a child, and now the child is 3 years old. And TNC's level has reached level 158, and all kinds of data on him have far surpassed the civilization. This is similar to what Chen Mu guessed. But why is the war gone? Chen Mu flipped through the dark consciousness library of this planet, flipped the time in the dark consciousness library, and pulled the time back to check. After reading it, Chen Mu understood. So that's it? Because the forest elf queen has her own thinking, TNC can't completely rely on her power to do things, so TNC has to upgrade. As TNC's level gets higher and higher, his influence is getting higher and higher. In the end, he single-handedly influenced the entire planetary civilization and made those civilizations calm down obediently. Stop the war. After that, TNC, who was already invincible, lived with the forest elves. After that, this data civilization became what Chen Mu saw now. This is the timeline. Just change a little thing, and the result is completely different from the result of the previous timeline. Just change a small setting, and the result is that the civilization war that would have killed hundreds of millions of people disappeared. Timeline, there are also similar butterfly effects. Chen Mu looked at TNC who was playing with his wife and children through his consciousness. Now, he is invincible. I believe that on this upgrade path, I believe he has also experienced various emotions in reality. Let's ask him how he feels. Thinking. Chen Mu separated part of the dark consciousness from the cosmic giant. At the same time, a body appeared out of thin air on a grassland in the data planet. The dark consciousness entered the body. Chen Mu slowly opened his eyes. Suddenly, there was a figure in front of Chen Mu. TNC's figure appeared in front of Chen Mu. TNC came back to his senses. He looked around. Where is this place? His eyes fell on Chen Mu, and his eyes became a little alert. Who are you? Through TNC's vision, you can see all kinds of data on Chen Mu. Name. Level, 0. Seeing this, TNC was stunned. level 0. But his vigilance did not disappear, but he looked at Chen Mu. Who are you? Chen Mu looked at TNC. TNC's subconsciousness is Chen Mu's subconsciousness. It can be said that TNC is Chen Mu. However, TNC does not have Chen Mu's memory, so what he shows is another state. Because his experience is different from that of Chen Mu. Looking at another self, Chen Mu smiled. He came to chat, and smile is obviously a good tool for chatting. Seeing Chen Mu's smile, TNC's vigilance relaxed a little, and there was a hint of doubt in his eyes. Chen Mu smiled and said, "My name is Chen Mu, and I am the creator of this planet." Planet? TNC frowned and showed a puzzled look. Well, by the way, this world doesn't study technology, and doesn't know about planets, which is normal. Chen Mu said with a smile, "Let's put it this way, I am the creator of this world." Hearing this, TNC was stunned, and his face changed slightly. "You are that bastard god." Chen Mu's smile froze, and countless question marks popped up in his mind. Bastard god. TNC saw Chen Mu's frozen smile. TNC touched the back of his head, laughed, and said, "I was wrong, it's the god of creation, the god of creation." "So you are the god of creation?" Looking at the smile on TNC's face, Chen Mu put one hand around his chest and stroked his chin with the other hand. Looking at TNC, he fell into thought. Why did this guy suddenly change his face, a flattering face? Chen Mu glanced at TNC's information database. After taking a look, he understood. The TNC in front of him was born as an ordinary person. Although his current level is very high, no matter how high his level is, he knows that he can't be the opponent of the god of creation. So, TNC chose to laugh. What TNC is thinking about now is not his own life, but the lives of his wife and children. He is afraid of angering Chen Mu and harming his wife and children. He already has concerns. There is something that, in his opinion, is more important than his own life. Even if TNC is invincible on this planet, does he still have a weakness? Chen Mu looked at TNC and said, "What will you do if I kill your wife and children?" TNC suddenly restrained himself. He stared at Chen Shi and said, You can't do this." Seeing this, Chen Mu crossed his arms and looked at TNC, "Will you commit suicide?" No, no, no." TNC's face turned pale and he said, "You can't do this." Chen Mu looked at TNC, "What if I insist on doing this?" TNC gritted his teeth suddenly, and his body suddenly moved. As soon as he moved, he rushed towards Chen Mu and punched Chen Mu directly in the face. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang. TNC's body flew out upside down, flew into the air, and fell heavily to the ground, dragging a 20-meter-long trace on the ground. TNC struggled to get up and stared at Chen Mu. "You are obviously level 0, why, what is this?" Chen Mu looked at TNC and said, "I set the levels of all lives in the world. To me, levels have no meaning." TNC frowned tightly and stared at Chen Mu. "You?" Chen Mu said, "For me, if I kill your wife and your children, it only takes one thought and your wife and your children will disappear." "No. No." TNC's face turned pale, and he struggled to remember. But he found that he couldn't move his body, not even his fingers. Chen Mu looked at TNC. He thought for a moment, nodded slightly, and smiled, "I understand. You will kill yourself. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 418. In the data civilization, there is a powerful and mysterious force. This force has appeared several times in the entire data civilization. Among them, the one that is currently recorded and known to all highly intelligent life is the liberation of the Endless Tower. In the Endless Tower, there is a civilization on each floor. Under normal circumstances, these civilizations can only stay in each floor of the tower, and they cannot leave where they are. Although some civilizations in these civilizations are ambitious, eager to conquer, eager to kill, and eager to die, due to the limitation of some power, those crazy civilizations cannot leave where they are. However, just 10 years ago, the Endless Tower was liberated. In the entire tower, 100 civilizations can come out of the Endless Tower at will, ravage and slaughter humans. When the Endless Tower was liberated, some crazy civilizations came out of the Endless Tower, and the highly intelligent life of these civilizations slaughtered tens of millions of humans like a meat grinder. That civilization war caused tens of millions of human casualties. As a result, the human population was directly reduced by 1/20. Later, it was with the help of TNC and his destiny card, the Queen of the Forest Elves, that the war was quelled and those civilizations were allowed to withdraw to their own lands. But all humans will never forget the scene of the River of Blood. In addition to the liberation of the Endless Tower, there was another horrific incident 100 years ago. All the experience and levels accumulated by all the people in human civilization after a lifetime of hard work were wiped out in an instant. All levels were reset to 0. For this reason, the entire human civilization experienced unprecedented turmoil and riots, and countless people died in that turmoil. The human population was reduced by 1/10. These are the two recent recorded events in human history that humans could not predict or control. And this incident was believed by humans to be caused by that mysterious force. In people's eyes, the only one who can have this power to change the rules of the world is the God who created this world. Therefore, the God of creation is called the bastard God by humans. Of course, all this is people's speculation. No one knows whether the God of creation exists or not. It is just a legend. But TNC didn't expect that he would actually meet this bastard God. TNC knew that he was no match for this bastard God, so at the beginning, he chose to smile and laugh. But when he heard that this bastard God wanted to kill his wife and children, his brain was congested, his reason completely disappeared, and he couldn't help it. However, the result was just as he guessed, he was no match for the bastard God. He was desperate. In order to become stronger and to drive back the enemies who invaded human civilization, TNC spent 10 years frantically gaining experience and levels. His level was already the highest in this world, and no one in this world was his opponent. He could deal with anyone in this world with just one finger. He was already invincible. But after seeing the God of creation in front of him, he found that he, who was invincible, was nothing in front of this God of creation. He couldn't even stop this God of creation from killing his wife and children. Desperate and helpless, all kinds of emotions combined. TNC's eyes were filled with tears, and he stared at the bastard God in front of him. But now, TNC saw this cold-faced bastard God suddenly smiled and said that, "I understand. You will commit suicide." Looking at the smile on the face of this bastard God, TNC was stunned. He couldn't understand the sudden smile of this bastard God, nor could he understand why this bastard God suddenly said these two sentences. "What do you mean?" TNC stared at Chen Mu. Chen Mu smiled and said, "Oh, I scared you, I'm sorry, I just want to know if you will commit suicide if I kill your wife and children. Now I have the answer." The answer has been obtained. When Chen Mu said that he would kill TNC's wife and children, TNC knew that he was not Chen Mu's opponent, but he still attacked Chen Mu, which was undoubtedly the same as suicide. So, Chen Mu got the answer that if TNC knew that his wife and children were dead, he would commit suicide. He chose to commit suicide because of the death of his wife and children. TNC's main subconscious is part of Chen Mu's subconscious. He is equivalent to Chen Mu's clone. But this clone now has a wife and children, and even wants to sacrifice his life for his wife and children. Quite interesting. TNC was stunned for a moment, and his body recovered. He stood up slightly, stared at Chen Mu, and frowned, "My wife and children." Chen Mu crossed his arms and smiled and said, Don't worry, I have no interest in the lives of your wife and your children. Hearing this, Tianxi looked at Chen Mu. You called me here to ask that question. Chen Mu looked at Tianxi. I see that you seem to have something to ask me. Tianxi was stunned, and he looked at Chen Mu carefully. I do have a lot to ask you. But he was a little worried, afraid of angering the moody god in front of him. Chen Mu saw Tianxi's worry, and he said, I allow you to ask, no matter what the content is, I won't be angry. To be precise, Chen Mu didn't have the word angry at all. At least, within this civilization, there is no one who can make Chen Mu angry. Tianxi looked at Chen Mu, and he adjusted his mood. 100 years ago, everyone's levels were reset to 0. Was it you who did that? Chen Mu crossed his arms and said, well, I did it. Tianxi frowned tightly and looked at Chen Mu. The endless tower, were you liberated? Chen Mu nodded slightly. Yes, it's me. You. Tianxi's face turned red and he pointed at Chen Mu, but for a moment he didn't know what to say. He adjusted his emotions, slowly took back his hand and looked at Chen Mu. 100 years ago, everyone's level returned to 0, which caused the world to be in turmoil. Because of that incident, nearly hundreds of millions of people died. Corpses were everywhere. There are rivers of blood and hell on earth everywhere. Do you know how many people died because of your actions? How many families and wives were separated? He suppressed his anger at first, but as he spoke, his voice became louder and louder. Also, with the liberation of the Endless Tower, those evil civilizations came out of the Endless Tower. Human beings have had a hard time recuperating and recovering from the war. Once the Endless Tower is liberated, humans will have to face those evil things again. Civilization was massacred by those evil civilizations. Do you know how many people died at that time? Tianxi stared at Chen Mu, his face full of solemnity and anger. Chen Mu raised his hand and touched his chin, looked at Tianxi, thought for a moment, and said, is this important? Hearing this, Tianxi was stunned. He looked at Chen Mu's face without any emotion. Tianxi's eyes trembled slightly. He frowned and looked at Chen Mu. You are not the god of creation. You are the devil, you are the devil. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 419. Chen Mu looked at Tianxi, whose eyes trembled slightly, looking at Chen Mu as if he were looking at a monster. In other words, looking at the devil. Chen Mu felt quite interesting about this God-sent move. Chen Mu said with great interest, it seems that you value life very much. Tianxi said, of course, life is precious and needs to be respected and valued. No matter who you are, you must respect life. Tianxi looked at Chen Mu, even the God who created human beings should respect life. Hearing this, Chen Mu smiled and said, do you know what life is to me? God sent heard, what? Chen Mu raised his hand and waved. Beside Chen Mu, something was gathering. In Tianxi, you can see that a white skeleton is formed, and nerves slowly appear on the skeleton. Then see various organs, muscles, blood, skin. Soon, a beautiful woman appeared in front of Tianxi. This woman has pointed ears, wings behind her, and a proud figure. She has long emerald hair, and under her bangs are a pair of eyes as clear and beautiful as emeralds. Paired with those beautiful lips and fair skin, she looks extremely beautiful. Her eyes had no light at first, but as her body gradually formed, her eyes became brighter. She slowly raised her face and looked at Tianxi. Seeing the woman in front of him, Tianxi's eyes trembled slightly, and he said, Wai Wei. When the woman heard Tianxi's name, she looked at Tianxi, her eyes filled with doubts and confusion. Tianxi, Why are you here? Where are you? This person is clearly the forest elf queen, her god-sent wife Wei. Tianxi felt intense uneasiness and fear for a moment, and he stared at Chen Mu. Why did this ruthless god summon his wife here? What does he want to do? Tianxi's face turned pale. He endured strong uneasiness and looked at Wei, saying softly, "It's okay, I'm here." Wei blinked, as if she didn't know what was going on. Tianxi looked at Chen Mu. "What are you going to do?" Chen Mu said, "Well, I want to tell you what life is." As he spoke, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Crack! Along with this sound, Tianxi was startled and looked at Wei. I saw Wei looking at her hand in confusion. I saw that Wei's hand was dissipating at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it looked like it was dissipating like sand. Seeing this moment, Tianxi had already realized what Chen Mu meant by snapping his fingers. He wants to kill Wei. Tianxi's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly said, "Don't. Don't kill her, don't kill her." Wei was stunned for a moment. She looked at Tianxi. "Tianxi, what's wrong with me?" Tianxi gritted his teeth suddenly, rushed towards Wei, and stretched out his hand to hug Wei. But when I put my hands together, I felt nothing but air. Tianxi saw Wei's figure turn into bits of gravel, which slowly decomposed and finally turned into tiny substances that were invisible to the naked eye. Tianxi was stunned, his pupils were trembling, his face was as pale as paper. He gritted his teeth and looked at Chen Mu. "You." He was extremely angry and rushed towards Chen Mu again. He clenched his fist and was about to greet Chen Mu in the face. However, before the fist could reach Chen Mu, Tianxi was unable to move. Tianxi's eyes were red and filled with tears. He stared at Tianxi crazily and ferociously, as if he wanted to bite off a piece of Chen Mu's flesh. "You bastard!" The tears in his eyes flowed down his cheeks. Looking at the god-sent demeanor, Chen Mu smiled, "There's no need to be so angry, we're just alone." When Tianxi heard this, his breathing became a little rapid. "You, bastard! You are the big bastard! I will kill you, I will kill you." When Chen Mu heard this, he waved his hand, "Calm down." Suddenly, the God-given anger was doused as if cold water had been poured on it. Tianxi was forced to calm down by an invisible force. He was stunned and looked at Chen Mu. "You." After calming down, he became angry again. Chen Mu said, "The woman you saw just now is not your lover." Tianxi was stunned. "What did you say?" He frowned. Chen Mu crossed his arms and said, "Your lover is still in your home and living happily. What you just saw was just a clone of your lover." Clone, this term does not exist in this world, and Tianxi did not understand it. Chen Mu touched his chin and said, "That is to say, copy, copy, do you understand?" Tianxi was stunned for a moment. "Copy, I know this. You mean, the one just now was not my lover, but another individual that you copied?" "No, no. If that's the case, why does she know about me?" "Her name?" "She is my Wei, don't try to lie to me." Chen Mu nodded, "Let's put it this way." Chen Mu looked at Tianxi, who was unable to move, playfully and said, "I can create an existence that is exactly like your lover and has the same memories as your lover, but she has not experienced those things with you, nor has she ever experienced those things with you. She didn't give birth to a child for you. She just looks similar and has the same memory. For you, this kind of woman is also your lover, right?" Tianxi was stunned when he heard what Chen Mu said. Chen Mu looked at Tianxi's expression and said, "If so, then you are really sentimental." Tianxi shook his head, "No. No, that's definitely not the case." Chen Mu hummed and said, "That's right, the one you saw just now is exactly the same as your lover, and has the memory of your lover, but she has not experienced those things with you, but only in her memory." The one who really experienced those things with you and gave birth to your child is still in your home. So do you think that the one just now is your lover? Tianci shook his head. No. No. Chen Mu said, that's right. Then you also saw it. Chen Mu looked at Tianci. I can create a life at will, and I can also erase a life at will. For me, life is like a clay figure. When you were a child, you must have played with clay figures. If you made a clay figure and smashed it, would you feel guilty? Tianci listened and said, there is definitely no guilt, but clay figures are clay figures, and people are people. Chen Mu looked at Tianci and said, really? I don't think that, so-called humans, I can create countless of them in 1 second, and their value is about the same as clay figures in my opinion. What does it matter if hundreds of millions of such beings die? Even if everyone in the data civilization dies, what does it matter? Chen Mu looked at Tianci and said, in my eyes, it's meaningless. Tianci looked at Chen Mu and frowned, if that's the case, then why did you send Wei to me? Why don't you limit my level? Why do you want me to be the savior of this data civilization? After hearing this, Chen Mu looked at Tianci and said, did you find out? Tianci frowned, who else can I break through the level limit and turn Wei into a card except you? Chen Mu hummed, yes, so why, or because? Fun, right? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 420. Play. Tianci looked at Chen Mu in disbelief. Tianci's life was changed because of Chen Mu's move, and the reason why Chen Mu made this move was just for fun. Tianci did not expect that no matter how high the level, no matter how powerful, no matter how invincible, it was just a toy of Chen Mu. Tianci had various emotions in his heart, but they were quickly suppressed by him. He adjusted his mood and looked at Chen Mu, if you just choose a toy, I think anyone can, why me? The answer to this question is simple. Because God's gift is Chen Mu. The only difference is that Tianci has no memory. Chen Mu could tell him this matter simply. Chen Mu didn't need to care about Tianci's emotions at all. But Chen Mu didn't do that. Because if you tell him now, he won't be able to live his life. And this is not what Chen Mu wants. Therefore, Chen Mu said with a smile, maybe you have better luck, then. Boom. Before Chen Mu could finish speaking, a loud noise came. The whole ground was shaking. Hear this sound. Chen Mu and Tianci looked at the source of the sound at the same time. In the distant sky, a supergiant space battleship that covers the sky and the sun can be seen appearing in mid-air. Surrounded by clouds and mist, it looked extremely huge. Seeing this thing, Chen Mu passed through the dark consciousness bank of that thing. At one glance, Chen Mu knew what that thing was. It's the Zerg. The moment I saw this thing, Chen Mu remembered something. When I created this planet, I did not wrap it with various asteroids outside the planet. In other words, the civilization where Tianci is located is exposed to the universe, and the probability of being discovered by other civilizations is extremely high. In this current timeline, the 7 civilizations created by Chen Mu have spread throughout the galaxy, and they exist everywhere. Among them, the Zerg civilization is the civilization that likes to invade the most. Obviously, this data civilization was discovered by the Zerg civilization, and now the Zerg civilization has planned to invade this data civilization. What a coincidence. What did you do again? Tianci looked at Chen Mu with questions and confusion in his eyes. Chen Mu crossed his arms and said, that thing comes from the outside world and has nothing to do with me. Tianci Wei was startled and looked at Chen Mu. Tianci knows that although the bastard god in front of him is a bastard, this god is absolutely invincible. This kind of invincible god will not deceive him, because it is completely unnecessary. What is that? Tianci asked aloud. When Chen Mu heard this, he smiled, You have to search and discover this question by yourself. If I gave you the answer to everything, wouldn't your life be too boring? Okay, Chen said, let's stop talking about it. After the words fell, Chen body slowly dissipated, turning into a tiny substance invisible to the naked eye and disappearing before Tianxi's eyes. Tianxi watched Chen disappear before his eyes. He looked at the huge metal battleship that broke through the white clouds and was suspended in the sky in the distance. He frowned, what on earth is that? Chen abandoned his body and returned to his dark ideology. His sight fell outside the Data Civilization planet. Outside the Data Civilization planet, you can see countless space battleships of the Zerg civilization suspended outside the planet. Some of them are slowly sailing into the planet of Data Civilization. Chen looked at the current timeline. In the current time scale of this timeline, Angel Qing has become Rena. The Zerg civilization has also separated from the 7 civilizations. Because Qing chose to fall, the invasion of the Zerg civilization became more and more intense. Like this Data civilization, since there are no external barriers to interfere, it is naturally exposed to the side of the nearby Zerg civilization. A war between Zerg civilization and Data civilization? Okay. That way it won't be too boring. In the past, Chen was crazy about pursuing evolution. During this period, Chen was still devouring various galaxies outside. Chen never paid attention to the situation of the 7 major civilizations and other civilizations. Of course, even though he didn't pay attention, through calculation, Chen could also know how much Rena, transformed by the fallen Angel Qing, would indulge the Zerg. Because the reason why Angel Qing became Rena was because of the order given by Chen Do what you want to do. And Rena chose to indulge the Zerg, and naturally the Zerg civilization went crazy. I don't know what the combat power of the current Zerg civilization is like. In the Data civilization, all the beings raised their heads and looked at the space battleships that suddenly appeared in the sky and blocked out the sun. Are those ships? It looks a lot like, it's just a steel ship, so it can fly in the air. This is so weird. The ships are all in the sea, these ships come from the sky. Is there someone inside? Someone from outside? If so, it would be troublesome. Just like those civilizations in the Endless Tower, if you don't come, it will be fine. If you come, nothing good will happen. People in Data civilization are talking about it one by one. However, at this moment, the space battleships in the sky opened their hatches one by one. Immediately, countless black metal life forms flew out of the hatch. Some of these life forms are crawling, and some are humanoid. Without exception, these life forms are all wrapped in black steel. There are so many of these metal life forms that after coming out of the space battleship, these life forms filled the entire sky, blocking out the sun. In mid-air, Chen who had become a dark consciousness, saw this scene and raised his eyebrows. Mecha. Chen remembered that at the beginning of this timeline, the Zerg used shield silver bodies and shield silver weapons to fight. They didn't wear mechas at all. In other words, are the Zerg changing their equipment upgrade route and choosing to use exo-mechas? Chen opened the Dark Consciousness library and took a look. Chen understood. So that's it? A Zerg, whose body is made of shield silver, but is equipped with an exoskeleton armor made of hard shield silver, and outside the exoskeleton armor is a mecha. The shield silver becomes the body and needs to be softened, and the defense will be weakened. Although the weakening is not much, it is also weakened. In the past, the shield silver was not enough to use, but now it is enough with the shield silver. The Zerg began to use hard shield silver to make exoskeleton armor and mecha. Double hard shield silver for defense. This change. No wonder the 6 civilizations were unable to wipe out the Zerg when they attacked it later. Chen crossed his arms. Zergs equipped with this kind of equipment are probably enough to give the Data civilization a hard time. I don't know how Tianxi will respond. Chen Mu was a little interested. Chen Mu was interested, but for the life of the data civilization, it was a catastrophe.